Boyd volleyball has done well again so far in the non-district slate, and they've started off the district season 1-0 with a good victory over Plano West in 4 sets. I'm joined by their head coach, Kylie Arbabi. And Coach, it was a good win against Plano West. They took the first set in a close one against you, 26-24, but then you really rolled through them the final 3 sets.
Yes, I think we came out a little bit slow, and we've been working on that throughout our entire season, just starting off strong. But I was really proud of the girls and how they were able to rebound and play the second, third, and fourth set very, very strong. You know, it's hard to, once you start a match and you have that mindset, it's hard to change that mindset. It's hard to go from like passive to aggressive, or I mean, you have to come in mentally focused. And I was proud of the fact that they were able to start a little bit slow, even though I don't like that, but they were able to turn it around and really, really take it to Plano West during the second and third and fourth set.
In the non-district slate, obviously you scheduled the toughest competition that you can, and you faced a lot of the area's best. You had a couple of really good wins against Coppell. You beat them in 5, the defending state champions. You beat Rockwall Heath on the road as well. And then you've had a couple teams that you've struggled against. Colleyville Heritage is one of those teams that you just have not been able to be on the mark against them for whatever reason. What do you think has been the trouble with Colleyville Heritage in particular, and then also against those other teams? Why have you found so much success?
Well, right now our record is 26-5, and we have 5 losses, and we have 3 to Colleyville Heritage. And I think Colleyville Heritage is a very, very strong team. They're a veteran team with a very strong coach, and but they have a stud middle blocker that's committed to Florida State, and we haven't been able to handle her yet. So I mean, they're in Region 1, so we won't have to face them again until the state tournament. But you know, every time you play a strong team like that, it shows some of your weaknesses so you can continue to get better. So I don't mind losing to strong teams, you know, but it's frustrating when you lose to the same team 3 in a row. So our second, we've also had drop matches to A&M Consolidated, which was kind of a fluke thing because we lost to Colleyville Heritage in the semifinals and then had to play A&M Consolidated after that loss. And so it was just kind of a demoralizing loss to Colleyville Heritage, and so we weren't able to amp up again. But anyway, no excuses on that one. But anyway, and then our third loss was to Hebron, and honestly, Hebron had a huge home crowd support, and not taking that away from them, but they just played lights out, and they beat us. They were better that night than we were. So 3 teams, 5 losses, you know, not bad. I mean, I think, you know, we can improve from those losses. So.
You know, we were talking earlier, you think that your team hasn't yet peaked this year, and that's a good thing to not have peaked so far in the middle of the season with lots of district games to go. Yeah,
I think, you know, at times peaking is such a coaching word, and there's no definition to peaking, but I think what I consider peaking is when we have sets, like we played really, really well against Plano West, and if we can put one set together where I feel like we're playing really well and we can put those sets consistently back to back to back, that's when you're peaking. You know, there are times in matches where I can honestly say that there's not a better team in the state of Texas, not one single team that's better than we are. But it's the consistency of stringing together good sets and regrouping and being focused every single point of every single set. Then, at that time, I'll feel like we're peaking. So it's not necessarily, I'm not looking for a time where I feel like we should be peaking. I think it's just we should be very consistent towards the end of district as we head into playoffs.
Yeah, sometimes it's really hard to keep that focus and that mindset all the way through all those sets, and sometimes they're really long sets as well. Yeah. Your team has, individually, you have a bunch of stars, and they've really played collectively well together. One of those studs has been Montana Watts. She is #1 by far and away in digs per game in the 5A area. In fact, there's only one particular player, a player from Rowlett, that's even within 100 total digs of her total, which is 610 at the moment.
I know, sometimes you look at those polls as coaches and you're like, oh, those coaches are lying. They're not, you know, because the coaches tell the stats and stuff, but it's legit. I mean, she is just a solid player. She's a little vacuum cleaner. We have her in middle back, and with the defense that we run, she will automatically just statistically get more digs, but she just does a great job for us. She can dig really well with her hands over her head, just pushing it up. You know, and she's just scrappy, and she's just playing so great, and she's just a sophomore, so I know that she'll just continue to improve. And another thing about Montana, she's very, very bright, but she doesn't, and she's also emotionally consistent. And so even though she's just a sophomore, she's playing with leadership. Even though she's not a captain, she's definitely a solid rock on the court, and I really appreciate that from her. And
she's not one of those players that emotionally, sometimes you have those players that they're either the high of high or they'll get to the low of low. She's pretty steady.
Yeah, you want your leaders to be able to be consistent. Whether or not they play high all the time, that's fine, but they can't go high and then low and then high and low. And Montana's just a solid. I always know that she's going to pull through. Even when she struggles a little bit, I know that she can rebound because she doesn't allow herself to get too high and she doesn't allow herself to get too low.
Another young player that you have that's continuing to fine-tune her craft on the volleyball court is Jordan Kylie, and she's been very productive this year.
Jordan's played great for us. We have her in the 0-2 spot right now, but she's so solid. She's such a role player right now, and as a freshman, being a role player and starting and being able to play all the way around, we've kind of played with her in the back row a little bit and then subbed her out for a DS at times, just depending on how they're picking on her with passing. But no, she's just been solid, and that's another thing about our young players. Jordan's another one that's just solid. Like, she doesn't get too emotionally high and she doesn't get too emotionally low, so you always can count on that Jordan to show up. Like, I never have to question, is she going to show up or is she not going to show up? So as a 14-year-old, which is crazy to think about, like, she's just doing a great job. I'm very, very proud of her.
That is crazy to think about, only 14. You also have to have those seniors, though, on your team that really use the leadership, and one of those has been Parker Shepard throughout the year. She's 6th in the area in aces. She's been consistently good in passing the ball.
Oh, she's doing great. Her serve behind the service line is definitely a reason why we've been successful, and overall we've been really working on serving. But I think that if we continue to stay aggressive overall as a team behind the service line, we'll be doing great. Parker's just led the way with aces right now, and her offense with setting is great too. I mean, she's really stepping up and becoming that senior captain that we've been wanting her to become.
One thing you told us at the beginning of the year to look forward to is that you had so much height now on your team, and you're going to be able to get more blocks. And certainly you have not been disappointed. Jill Duffin has been great in that category, 3rd most total blocks in 5A, and Bailey Bingaman is not too far behind her in that category. Yeah,
Jill and Bailey have done a great job of establishing defensive, because blocking is obviously the first defensive line of, well, it's the first defense anyway. But there have actually been a defensive threat and an offensive threat. We've been able to really incorporate our middles better this year than we have ever in the past. And so I think we're doing a good job of feeding our middles early on so we can create separation for our right sides and our outside players. So that makes sense to volleyball people, but basically if you establish that you're going to be setting the middle, then you can create one-on-one type blocks for your outside hitters.
Because otherwise everybody will shift to one side and shift to another, trying to read the play.
Yeah, you want to create that respect for those middles.
Ashley Martin also, she's 13th in the area in kills per game. She's our Scholar Athlete of the Week this week. She's had an incredible year.
That's awesome. She's had a great year. She is definitely the spark plug of our team. When she is on, there's no one there's no one that can stop her. I mean, she's just such a phenomenal player, and she's so what I count on Ashley to bring is that excitement and that fun fight mentality. And so she never takes things too seriously. I mean that in a good way, like in the best way possible. Like she just kind of rebounds fast, and as long as she can stay consistently high, she's great. So I'm very happy with Ashley right now.
Looking ahead at the district schedule, your next couple of games are against Plano and Allen, 2 of the tougher teams in your district. Allen's ranked in the top 10 along with you in the area. What are you looking forward to in those matches and trying to take down those 2 opponents?
With Plano, I know that they have their outside hitter. I can't recall. She's number 6. She's a stud player, and so if we can shut her down, that's kind of going to be the main key with beating Plano. And then having Allen on Friday. We haven't seen Allen play this year. I mean, I film on them and we've watched film, but it'll be a good indicator of where we are right now. I think that we should come out with 2 wins this week, but it's just preparing and being able to string those sets together that we need to have in order to be consistently solid over everyone in our district.
And obviously, kind of the theme throw we've been talking about, you haven't peaked yet, and you've been playing well against the top teams. Teams like the Woodlands, who are ranked number 1 in the state poll that I've seen most recently, and South Lake Carroll's been ranked number 1 in the area as some teams you could potentially see down the road in the playoffs, not immediately, but down the road. Up until that point, what's the one thing you really need to work on with your team to get to where you're always on your A game and going to be able to defeat those teams and win a state title?
Well, actually, last week, that's funny that you'd say that, because last week we really sat down and we talked about determination and not necessarily, you never want to, for me and for our team, I never want to focus too much on the other team, because I feel like if we take care of business on our side of the net, we'll be able to take care of most of our opponents. But there's a sense of creating that personal, taking it personally to win, and creating that pride within our own team, that we're going to continue to develop, that determination and that that killer instinct, that we're such a nice team. Like, we really are a nice group of girls that I kind of like, okay, let's fight a little bit. I mean, they're fighting, but I want them to have that, I want to rip your head off type mentality. And when we can get that determination factor down and put together our skills along with determination, and the fact that I want them to look back and say, there's no one that's going to beat us. And I want them to truly believe that, and developing that killer instinct is something that we are going to work on, and that'll really help our ability to string those sets together, like I said before.
Yeah, because sometimes as an athlete, you can go in and you're so focused on being a good sport and having too much respect sometimes for your opponents that you almost sometimes get caught up in that, rather than focusing on really just trying to stick it to them and win those games.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we're definitely, they have it in them. I think it's just now from the coaching standpoint, allowing them to foster that and to kind of let them be more aggressive, and that's what we need to do.
Well, Coach, it seems like you're on the right track. An excellent record, 26-5 so far this year, 1-0 in district. Good luck with McKinney Boyd volleyball the rest of the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
McKinney Boyd, of course, as I just mentioned, 1-0 in district play, looking to continue that streak this week. They have Plano on Tuesday and then Allen on Friday as they look to possibly win another district title. This week's Dennis Baker State Farm Scholar Athlete of the Week is Ashley Martin from McKinney Boyd High School. Ashley, a junior, is an outside hitter for the Boyd volleyball team. Ashley is currently ranked in the top 3% of her class with a 4.23 GPA. She was a McKinney Rotary Club Honor Cord recipient last season, as well as an academic all-district selection. Ashley is involved with her church youth program and volunteers with youth recreational volleyball. Ashley verbally committed last season to play college volleyball at TCU and is looking forward to becoming a Horned Frog in the future. That's Ashley Martin from McKinney Boyd High School, our Dennis Baker State Farm Scholar Athlete of the Week. I want to thank all of the coaches once again for dropping by on today's show. Next week, we return to an all-football format. The Lions coach Jeff Smith and the Broncos coach Don Drake will return to the set fresh off their bye weeks. I hope they've been practicing their eye contact with the camera and their highlight segment pacing during the week off. Bye weeks are meant for extra practice after all. We also will have McKinney North's game highlights from their upcoming game with Royce City. Until next time, from all of us here at Sports Talk, I'm Tyler Sloan. Have a great week.